Hello there and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, Nigerians were shocked some years ago when a video surfaced of a teacher in Edo State failing to read a script she wrote during a test. But more shocking was the revelation this year of teachers in Kaduna State failing to pass a test meant for primary 4 pupils. Now, this got many Nigerians worried and put the Nigerian education system under the spotlight. And that is our focus on the program today. But let's first take a look at the trends in the past week. The African countries to represent Africa at the World Cup 2018 completed their round of qualifying games. Now, while some had already qualified before the last round, some needed the results of the last round to book their places in next year's global showpiece. And microblogging site Twitter increased to all its users the new option to utilize 280 characters while sending a tweet, as against the 140 that the site started with. That option was for a select few, but was released to all users in the past week. Now, those were the trends, but let's join our guests to get a sense of their feeling as to the state of the Nigerian education system. And Adamu Dankore joins us from Iowa in the United States, Abib Fajobi from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and Olumuyiwa Amao joins us from Dunedin in New Zealand. Well, Olumuyiwa, how will you rate the Nigerian education system at the moment?
You look at the Nigerian Federation, the 36-state structure. And then you look at the arms of government that we have, the federal, the state, and the local. And you look at under what session the educational responsibilities fall in our constitution. It falls between the exclusive and the concurrent lists. That means it is the joint responsibility of both the federal government and the state government to make sure that Nigerians get educated. Interestingly, the UN standards recommends that at least 26% of your national budget on a yearly basis should be devoted towards education. That has never happened in the history of Nigeria before. It's never happened before. So you would expect that when you have a government as a collective now, the Nigerian state, across board, that doesn't that isn't interested in spending 26% of its national budget on education, you cannot get good results.
Well, those are such statistics. However, is that the only thing missing so far?
The problem started from the scratch, started from how our leaders perceive education. And there's one thing we seem to be missing. The Nigerian Constitution, we had argued over this severally. The Nigerian Constitution is so seriously defective. Defective in the sense that for you to aspire to the national office in Nigeria, all you need is just a secondary education. It isn't a pass. It isn't 5 credits pass in secondary school. It just says, show evidence that you attend or you have attended secondary school, and then you're eligible to contest for the highest office. So the designers of our constitution, the framers of our constitution themselves, have lowered the standard in such a way that it's going to be difficult for people to be inspired to want to do anything different. So when you have a system that deliberately encourages people to have the least set of qualification to aspire up to the highest office in the land, you're not going to get the best, and that's where we're getting it wrong. If, for example, our constitution had stipulated that the minimum requirements for you to man any office in Nigeria, whether it be a councillor or whatever you want to be, from councillorship to presidency, is a first degree, I'm tempted to believe that things will not be the way it is. But because you just don't have to pass, you only need to show evidence, nobody really cares. So for me, I think that's where the problem starts from. So the federal government, which is in charge of the universal basic education, keeps making us believe that every year millions and millions of naira goes to UBEC, but we hardly see the results. What we see instead are classrooms, intervention projects. So we are treating the symptoms and not the disease itself at the federal level. And then you bring it down to the state level. Each state governor over the years competes to build infrastructures. They build classrooms, supply chairs, but they don't do capacity training. There's no capacity development. What is the essence of you building classrooms when you have not built those who will teach in those classrooms? And I think that's where we should begin to focus on as a state.
I think the solution is not to fire these teachers. The solution is far away from that, actually. I'm not condoning bad teaching. I think if teachers cannot teach our children what we want them to teach them, they shouldn't teach. However, firing these teachers isn't the solution. Victor, the solution is to take away education and hand it over to us, to parents. That will not just solve the bad teacher issue, but it will solve everything that is wrong with our education today by taking education and handing it over to us. And so what do I mean by handing over to us, Victor? Because we are not in charge. Victor, I'm guessing you're not a parent yet. But our parents have no control of the system, zero control. We don't hire the teachers. We don't delegate somebody to hire for us. We don't pay them. And you can't change something you're not in control of, Victor. That is just doesn't happen. So that is why, so that's what I mean by taking back education and giving it to parents.